Hello, internet-obsessed people who cannot stop playing and watching the Pokemon trading card game. It is I, the Ninja Nick 333, as always, back with another round of the Japan Championships, also known as the Japan Nationals. Looks like we have a Lost Box deck here on the left side, and I'm not sure what we have on the right yet because it did just start a Manaphy, and Manaphy is played in a vast variety of different decks. Some people even play it in Mew VMAX because they're afraid of Kyogre. More than likely, it is Gardevoir or Lost Box because those are the most likely options to be playing Manaphy. But either way, this player that is currently going first did start with the Comfey and is using the Battle VIP Pass to get Cramorant and Radiant Greninja. I find it a little bit odd that they went for the Cramorant so early. I would prefer to wait. Maybe flower selecting into it. It would have been better to get a Comfey. That way you can get as many cards in the wall zone as possible. I always say that your first Battle VIP Pass, depending on what you start, should be double Comfey or Comfey Greninja. It looks like they do get the second Comfey off of the Nest Ball, but that could have been the third Comfey, depending on how many switch cards in your hand. You could have gotten 3 flower selectings off this turn. Especially with the Jet Energy, you could always attach it to a benched Comfey in order to put it active and be able to retreat it afterwards. We do get a switch cart, which we are going to use here. The Artisan goes into the Lost Zone. That is another new card from Paldea Evolved. For those who don't know, the Artisan allows either player to look through their deck and put a non-rule box basic Pokemon onto their bench once a turn. So we are going to go for a second Battle VIP Pass now, so I'm definitely assuming we're going to get another Comfey. We could go for another Cramorant, wouldn't be awful. We could go for our own Manaphy. We don't know what we are playing against quite yet. If we have yet another Battle VIP Pass in hand, I think going for just the one Comfey is uber correct, to say the least. There are quite a few cards in hand. We are going to use the switch cart here. We're going to switch into the next Comfey, flower selecting yet again. We do get a Raikou as well as a Boss's Orders. That is a little bit of an interesting decision. They are going to go for the Raikou. You don't necessarily know what you're going against next, but both of these players are... well, actually, I can't really tell. I can't tell what this is. It says round 1. So this must be, I don't know, maybe it's a top cut now we're at. But either way, the player on the right is 10-0 and the player on the left is 9-1. So this is for a lot of the marbles. Not all the marbles, but a good portion of the marbles. So risking getting rid of the Raikou here could be a little bit devastating if you are going against maybe something that it's really good against. But it looks like it is Gardevoir, so never punished. Also, usually when you get into top cut or day 2 situations, you are more likely than not to know what your opponent is playing when you get there. Usually a website like PokeStats will publish all of the decks of all of the players that get to day 2 at like a North American regional usually. So you can always check that website when you get your pairings and say, oh, I'm playing such and so, and according to PokeStats it says he's playing Lugia Archeops. So you don't know if they're playing pure colorless Lugia, you don't know if they're playing Lugia single strike stuff, but at least you know that they're playing Lugia. So in that situation, even though your opponent has not revealed any information to you yet, on their own you would know not to get rid of the Raikou because you can hit their Lugia for weakness. So that's an important resource. If you ever get into your first day 2, make sure that you look at those online resources to make sure you know what your opponents are playing because it can influence your decisions. Looks like maybe this player is getting a slow play warning because they are really just digging through their deck looking to identify all of their prize cards, which is a little bit excessive. You don't need to look at you don't need to identify every single prize card on your first search. Just whatever is very important here. So you want to make sure you know how many Ralts and Gardevoirs you have available to you, and that's usually all that you need off of the first deck search. Maybe off your next deck search, if you know your opponent is playing like a Path to the Peak deck, you check how many stadiums and workers you have in your deck. So yeah, I'm assuming this is just like maybe a slow play warning. It would make sense. But of course, the rules in Japan are a little bit different. They are both more and less strict in different ways. And maybe they're just trying to straighten things out as well. So they are using the Battle via PA Pass there. They did decide to put the one decision back into the deck for now, while they discuss any sort of penalty or make notes on it. It is important in Pokemon about the penalties and everything. Pokemon does not publish any list of banned players or let you know what penalties are given to certain players or anything. Like, if somebody gets DQ'd from a tournament, they don't even talk about it. I know that they did talk about something recently, but it was like super vague, and my friend screenshot it and asked me about it. It's like, oh, they investigated this issue and they said that the person was not at fault, and that another person was trying to use that information that was posted to the internet to try to get them into trouble, even though they shouldn't have gotten into trouble, is basically the gist of what that statement from Pokemon said. And I'm like, dude, I have no idea what that says. And I spent like 15 minutes on Twitter, and then I knew the whole situation. So, if Pokemon actually said what happened, I wouldn't have had to spend 15 minutes on that garbage site Twitter. So they are still, maybe we can try to fast forward a little bit if they're going to take this long here. They're still not doing anything. Are we going to get back into the game literally at any point? Are they restarting the game? That is very interesting. Okay, so I'm not sure why they're restarting the game, but both players reshuffled their decks. Are they going to choose a new player to go first, maybe? This is very odd. I've never seen this happen before. Let's see if we can fast forward this a little bit more. So they have lightning energy in the deck to use with the Raikou. That makes sense. This is very odd because he was in the middle of a Battle VIP pass. Why just restart the entire game? And are they restarting the game with this player having a penalty? Because I still don't know what happened. But of course, if I were able to understand Japanese, I could probably listen to their commentary and be able to find out. So if anybody knows exactly what happened during this match, if somebody does speak Japanese and has watched this on their own time, if they want to comment it down below, I am pretty curious. But yeah, it looks like we are just completely starting over. And, oh, this is best 2 out of 3. And the player on the left won game 1. Oh, I figured it out. Never mind. So this here that shows a little O, that I think means win, and this shows a little X. So I think that this player on the right got a game loss for some reason. Did they get a slow play game loss? Again, if anybody actually knows, please comment down below. But yeah, it looks like this must be a best of 3 match for the cut, which is a little bit unheard of in Japan. We do see the timer is extended. It must have started at 50 minutes, so this makes sense. I'm used to all of Japanese tournaments being best of 1 from start to finish. So I did not know that their championships were best of 3 cut. So that's definitely where we are at now. So since we lost game 1 here, we are going to have the option to go first. We're going to use that Battle VIP pass to search through our deck here. And we're going to grab a couple of Ralts. Already had another Ralts on the bench. Started the Mew. So this is a pretty stellar start. The very unfortunate thing is you are in an unfavorable matchup. And on top of that, already have a loss to start this match without basically even being able to play the game. So again, very unfortunate here. So definitely should pick up the pace of play for sure. Just to make sure that they don't get any penalties like that in the future, if that is what the penalty was. And this Lost Box deck probably feels very thankful to have been given a free win, because now they only need to win 1 of these next 2 games in order to win the match. So it looks like we are searching through the deck. We are trying to find some Pokemon to put into play. I think we are using our own Battle VIP pass here. Did start the Raikou, which is not ideal in this matchup because it is a 2-prize Pokemon. The Gardevoir deck can kind of start to come ahead on prize cards, potentially, if they are able to knock that out. But it does allow you to draw an extra card, So you could always use the ability here and maybe draw another Battle VIP pass. But nope, looks like it's just a Lightning Energy. You could always attach that to the active. That feels fine. But we do have an Escape Rope, so that's going to force one of the Ralts active. If we are able to get to the 4 cards in the Lost Zone this turn and see a Cramorant, we might be able to knock out one of those Ralts here. Would be really good. Looks like we're going to Lost Zone a Raihan to keep a Water Energy. Getting rid of the Raihan feels a little bit bad, but if you see it too early, you really just don't have any choice. So we're going to Flower Select yet again. We do get another Battle VIP Pass. We'll get rid of the Water Energy this time to play the Battle VIP Pass. Hopefully we have maybe a Jet Energy or another Switch card in hand so that we will be able to use more Comfey and maybe Chorus's Experiment. If we can dig into that this turn would be really great. So I would definitely be getting, it looks like we're getting Radiant Greninja and the Cramorant. So I like the get of both of those. So if we are to discard that Lightning Energy that we have in hand for the Radiant Greninja, we could potentially draw into the Chorus's Experiment, and if we do, we could get a Switch card or a Jet Energy, and then if we do, we are able to attack with the Cramorant, which is why we got that off of the Battle VIP Pass. Unfortunately, we did not get that, so we are just going to pass the turn, but that was still a really good turn 1 for Lost Box either way. You always want to make sure you get the knockout when you can turn 1, but, you know, Lost Box is just sometimes that 1 card short. And you definitely have the turns available to you against Gardevoir to be able to keep your lead, so we'll just have to see if they are able to do that. So we are going to go for a Level Ball here. We're going to search for a Manaphy because the Radiant Greninja is in play. As soon as they get to their Mirage Gate turn, which is 7 cards in the Lost Zone, they can use that to search the deck for 2 different colors of basic energy and put them on their Pokemon any way they like. So they can get a water and another color energy and then attach another water for turn. Use that Radiant Greninja to knock out 2 Ralts at the same time. So definitely need that Manaphy on the bench to prevent any Pokemon on the bench from taking any amount of damage from that Radiant Greninja. And using Radiant Greninja just to attack an active feels really bad. I have lost to that exact situation before, but that does not really apply in this matchup right now. It could, for sure, but not yet. So we are going to use another Level Ball to get a Ralts, and we're going to use yet another Level Ball, and we're going to get a Kirlia. So not bad of a setup so far. We're thinning the deck of those Pokemon, making those refinement draws a little bit more live. We're going to cut the deck into 3, which I always say you should just do 1 straight cut or shuffle your opponent's deck if you think it should be more randomized than just 1 straight cut. Because if you are to cut more than once, there's so much search in this game that doing more than 1 cut doesn't matter because they're going to draw like 2 cards and then search the deck again. So we're going to retreat into the Mew here. We can use Mew's Mysterious Tail to search the top 6 cards of our deck for an item card. Looks like we do find a Fog. Oh, we're going to go for the Battle VIP Pass here instead. That's a bit of an interesting decision. Unless we have maybe an Ultra Ball in hand, we can discard that with. Oh, we're just going to go for the Refinement. So we got that out of the deck for the Refinement specifically. That's a little bit odd. I think I personally would have chosen the Fog Crystal to get a Psychic Energy to discard the Psychic Energy. Either that or to grab the Zacian to put onto my bench so I could use Roar of the Sword this turn. Using Roar of the Sword, like usually turn 1 against Lost Box when you know you're against Lost Box is really good. Because if you have an undamaged Zacian, it can live 2 hits. So you can actually get a turn 2 attack with Zacian if you are, say, able to go first with the Gardevoir deck. So it does really help because then it helps you get to your Gardevoir EX. And then you can always Cresselia maybe in the middle to heal some damage. It just helps with the prize trade a little bit better. Because then you're just like not attacking because you are attacking. You're able to take prizes and keep pace with the Lost Box while you're still setting up your Gardevoirs. So we are seeing a Chorus's Experiment here. Going to look at the top 5 cards of the deck. 2 of those are going to go into the Lost Zone. 3 of them into the hand. Looks like we do have a Drapion in hand. Drapion is a fun card in this matchup because if you ever double Mirage Gate to it, you could one-shot a Gardevoir EX. So that would be a turn that would require a boss's orders as well as the double Mirage Gate. So it is very hard to pull off. almost completely unlikely to happen, especially if you're going to Lost Zone this boss's orders off of this Chorus's experiment here. So I think getting rid of the Comfey feels fine for sure. The other cards, I'm not 100% sure what is correct to get rid of. Looks like we are trying to straighten out this Lost Zone here. So yeah, the boss's orders being in the Lost Zone means that you're a lot less likely to be able to take that one shot on the Gardevoir EX with your Drapion. So maybe Drapion just not going to be a thing this game. Again, very hard to set up. So we do use a Jet Energy to put the Comfey active, use its Flower Selecting. And now we can always retreat into the Cramorant and take a knockout. Looks like we're going to go for the Escape Rope instead. Does force the Manaphy up because that is the most sacrificial Pokemon that the Gardevoir deck has right now. If we do see a Super Rod come out from the Gardevoir deck, that would be really good for them because they would be able to put back the Manaphy as well as the double Shining Arcana Gardevoirs that are in the deck discard pile right now. You would have preferred the Mew to get knocked out here, but sacrificing the Manaphy is still better than sacrificing any of the Gardevoir pieces. So it looks like we are going to start with a promotion of the Kirlia. That is so that we can retreat it into maybe a Cresselia this turn would be pretty good. We do get that Super Rod. It's the nice new secret rare one. You love to see it. Does shuffle those in, so that is exactly why we saw the Manaphy be the one that was promoted, because that is the one that's easiest to reset up with a Super Rod. Even gets the level ball off of the Iono to be able to search back the Manaphy as well. That would be really great to see this turn, but we can always use our refinements first to see if maybe we can save that instead for another card, like another Kirlia. So it uses the Shining Arcana that we now draw into as well that was shuffled back into the deck. And we have now drawn 6 extra cards after the Iono, so we have a ton of cards in hand right now. We're going to use yet another Kirlia to draw another 2 cards. We have, it looks like, 5 energies in the discard pile. We're going to use that level ball. We're probably going to be grabbing either a Kirlia or that Manaphy. Looks like it is that Manaphy. That's definitely the safe choice. You don't want to go for a Kirlia and then miss the Manaphy. That would feel really bad because then your opponent could go and knock out double Kirlia. And that feels bad, man. So we're going to re-bench that same Manaphy that was just knocked out on the previous turn. We have the Reversal Energy on the Gardevoir, so we can actually attack and take a knockout without having to use Psychic Embrace at all and putting any damage counters on our active, which is very, very good. The Gardevoir will remain with 140 HP, so if the Lost Box deck does want to one-shot this Gardevoir, they are now going to have to use the Raikou V, and then the Gardevoir deck can just return knockout with another Shining Arcana very easily because the Raikou only has 200 HP, and then the Lost Box deck is at a prize disadvantage because the Gardevoir deck will be ahead a turn, which is crazy to say because it is a Stage 2 deck beating a basics deck, a basic single prize deck. It's crazy. So we are going to Nest Ball here, look through the deck, see if we want to get a Pokemon to the bench. We did just get a Sableye off of the Flower Selecting this turn, but we're going to get another Sableye out of our deck here just to thin it. We can keep some good cards in hand. Hopefully we don't get Iono'd because that's always a bad time. Although Lost Box does tend to draw out of Iono pretty decently, it does seem, from the hearsay that I've been hearing. So I'm not sure if I even used hearsay correctly. Hearsay is like negative. It's a negative connotation because it kind of means like you're lying. Although I guess that's the correct way to use it because I don't feel like that's truthful. So anyway, we're going to use the Jet Energy. We're going to retreat here, go in for the next Flower Selecting. We have another Raihan. We've already Lost Zoned one Raihan this game. Do we really want to Lost Zone another one here? But we want that switch card as well, so it's making it a very hard decision. Looks like we are keeping one of the 2 cards. I can't really tell which one because he did it so fast and it was off screen. It was right after they moved the camera. So we are going to use the Courses Experiment this turn. I think that it's pretty safe to get rid of the Drapion as well as the Battle VIP Pass. I mean, the Battle VIP Pass is definitely a given. You can't play that card whatsoever. And yes, they are going to go with the Drapion as well. Makes perfect sense. You don't want to overvalue the Drapion in this matchup. You need 2 Mirage Gates to make it work. It's just very difficult. Or you could always attach return Raihan and Mirage Gate. But you've lost owned 1 to 2 Raihans already, so the likelihood that you're going to set that up is next to none. So here comes Escape Rope. We are going to be forcing that Gardevoir back to the bench, which is going to reactivate the reversal energy. So I'm not sure if that really feels right, but at least you do get an easy knockout with a Cramorant this turn. Or if you have 10 cards in Lost Zone, which it looks like they do, they will be able to take a big ol' turn here. So they're going to spread some damage counters. Looks like they're going to take a knockout on one of the Curlias. And then they can spread the other damage however they want. So I think maybe 1 on the Ralts, 1 on the Manaphy. 8, 9, 10. And then there's 2 left. Put them both on the Gardevoir. It feels better to put more on the Gardevoir. So they put 4 there. So that guarantees that 2 stay even if Cresselia comes out and uses its attack this turn. Which means it would stay at 120, which means another Sableye would be able to knock it out. So yeah, putting 4 there is definitely correct. Even though you really want that damage on the Manaphy to get it out of play. Because some Gardevoir decks do only play 1 Super Rod. Some play more than 1, some play 2. But it is a little hard to fit certain counts of cards in certain decks, especially in a Stage 2 deck. You have to play so many Pokemon just to get to your attacker, just to get to your support Pokemon. But very thankfully, Gardevoir's attacker and support Pokemon are from the same Gardevoir line, so makes it a lot more easy for it to be able to do its thing. Sometimes when you play 2 different Stage 2s in a deck, it makes it next to impossible to draw into what you need. But Gardevoir, since the Shining Arcana and the Psychic Embrace both evolve off of the same Curlia, makes it a little bit easier. It also allows you to play techs like the Gallades. We did see those in one of the early rounds of the Day 1 tournament for the Japan Championships. Also, I like how Pokemon doesn't even Photoshop the corners off of these. I do that for my thumbnails. I have to Photoshop the corners off. If you get the... I used to try to get the images... At first, I was getting my images off of TCG Player, and I had to Photoshop the corners off. And then I started getting my images off of the Pokemon Trading Card Game database on the official Pokemon website instead, because they already had the corners Photoshopped off. But their quality of image is so much lower than TCG Player's scans. And I also stopped using TCG Player because their scans of the Pokemon EXs looked really ugly. They looked very bad. But then I found, I think there's a website called like PKMN Cards or something like that. It's basically just scans of every card ever made, and they have really good scans. But again, I gotta Photoshop the corners off every time I make a thumbnail. It's really annoying. Although, a little behind the scenes, I do save every card that I do Photoshop into it, so that sometimes if, say like Arctina or Gardevoir comes on a game again, I just like play around with the layers and make them visible again. Because I save them in the template, so I don't always have to Photoshop my thumbnails. Sometimes I make them very easily in like 2 seconds, depending on the matchup. But when somebody brings frickin' Giratina V-Union, I have to spend 15 minutes Photoshopping that one image together. Or did I say Giratina V? Greninja V-Union. I don't know if I said it wrong. Greninja V-Union. Brain no work sometime, okay? So, we did take the knockout with the Gardevoir. It is at 100 HP remaining, so that is an easy knockout with Cramorant. Or you could even do it with the Sableye, put 1 damage counter, or no, 2 damage counters. So 1 onto the Manaphy, and then maybe 1 onto the Zacian would be fun as well. Or you could just put 2 on the Zacian. I don't know. I'm not sure what's correct there. But you definitely could get the knockout either way. You could also go with... No, you have to remove the Manaphy before you attack with Greninja. So the scariest thing is that your Raikou V is still on the bench there. It'd be really great if your opponent played Collapse Stadium on you, because Gardevoir does usually play Collapse Stadium, and you would be able to discard your own Raikou. You really don't want that in play, because that is a very large 2-prize liability right now. So we are going to Mirage Gate to the Sableye. Flower selecting, double Mirage Gate. So I don't know why it's taken him so long to make that decision, because they are both the same card. You might as well just throw the one in the Lost Zone and move on with your life. Be like, well, that sucks. If anybody takes more than 2 seconds to make the decision between 2 of the same card, they are basically cheating. So we are going to Lost Mine, knocking out another Kirlia. I think put 1 onto the Manaphy for sure, please. Would feel very good. Because if, well, I guess you could put 2 on a Manaphy, because then if a Ralt comes into play, you can knock both out. That would make more sense. I'm always used to putting 1 on a Manaphy, and like 1 on a Comfey, and then you can double knockout on the next turn, but you can't do that in this matchup right now. So it looks like we put the rest on the Mew. That does put it at 20 remaining HP. You can't Psychic Embrace to it anymore, so that definitely feels like a good decision. We're going to evolve into the Gardevoir EX we just drew into. We do have the Cresselia as well. Now the Cresselia will be able to heal 20 off of both of those 2 Pokemon that have damage counters on them. We might actually see the retreat of the Gardevoir EX here, because it is still a triple rainbow since this player is technically still losing. Looks like we're also going to Boss's Orders up the Radiant Greninja. I'm a little surprised they're going to go for the Greninja instead of the Raikou. But I suppose they're not going for a big knockout this turn. They're going for a Cresselia knockout. So I guess bringing up the Greninja makes more sense. Because they can't attack with it, so they're going to be forced to retreat or switch it out. Any of their other Pokemon gives them more value by being in the active spot. So yeah, bringing up the Greninja here is definitely correct if you are attacking with the Moonglow reverse. So we do use Psychic Embrace onto the active, so we can now heal 60 damage. We're going to Psychic Embrace yet again to the Gardevoir EX, so we can heal that off as well. So that's 80 damage we're able to do. Looks like we're going to go for a full 100 here, because we're doing that even though it is a little bit of overkill on that Sableye, because definitely knocking out the Sableye is correct here. Right, even though that's a little bit of overkill, you do want a fresh Zacian with no damage on it with a bunch of energy. Same with the Gardevoir EX, because both of those Pokemon are very tanky if you play it this way. So I'm definitely very excited to be playing Gardevoir in this next format with the Reversal Energy. I think that that's a really cool, it's a really cool deck. It makes it a lot more consistent, because you can just attack with your Gardevoirs without having to damage them. Also, the player on the left, I have that t-shirt. I wore that yesterday, actually. The Nashville one. I went to Nashville just for the Open. I unfortunately did really bad. I played against some really bad players and just bricked. Happens. But it was fun, though. I went there because I really wanted to do well in the 2019 season, and thankfully I did. That year before the one for Nashville, I barely missed getting into Nashville's Worlds. And I was very mad because I played very hard all season, but I only went to like 2 regionals. And only got like 30 points from one or 40 points from one or something like that. And my quarter one was pretty bad for cups. I think I got like a second in a top 4 or something, or 2 top 4s, like something really bad. Or maybe it was only 1 top. It might have only been 1 top 4 in all honesty. It was very bad. Buzzgarb Shrine really screwed me out that year. I did not know what to do against it, and I did not want to play it. It looked very unfun, and it definitely was because I tried it. So the Raikou is now set up. It does have the Sky Seal Stone, which is irrelevant because there are no VMAX and V-Stars in the Gardevoir deck. So just attacking with the Raikou because it does have the most HP. And it kind of baits the Gardevoir into maybe wanting to attack with the Zacian. And if they do, you could potentially respond with maybe a Dragonite on the next turn and knock it out. But I think the correct choice here is definitely to attack with literally anything else. I think, yeah, so they just Super Rod back in the Moonglow reverse and search it back out again. We are going to go for the Psychic Embrace onto the active. Going to put 2 damage counters on it. And it looks like we are definitely going for another Moonglow reverse turn. We're going to be able to heal, at this point, 60 if we attach for a turn to the Cresselia. If we put 1 from the discard pile onto the Cresselia, that would be 80. So we would be able to knock out another Sableye. Yeah, I definitely think you should knock out a Sableye this turn. The Comfeys aren't really doing your opponent any good, really. Oh, he used the opponent's Artisan to get the Cresselia, I just realized. Even plays the Iono for good measure, putting the opponent at 2 cards in hand, putting all the cards that were in hand to the bottom of the opponent's deck, and plays the Collapse Stadium, is going to force them to discard 1 Pokemon as well. Looks like we're going to get rid of the Mew. Don't get rid of the Manaphy. No! No, don't do it! Don't get rid of the Manaphy! If you get rid of the Manaphy, your opponent could... No, they can only take 1 prize card. That's a little weird, but yeah, no, that's fine. You can definitely get rid of the Manaphy there. That's crazy. So again, we're just going to load up some dudes with some energy so that they can attack in future turns. You don't want to put another energy on the Gardevoir EX, even though you do want that to be an option for an attacker. But you can always Psychic Embrace to it to the next turn and feel fine. So it looks like we're going to get rid of a Comfey. I'm not sure if I agree with that because the Cramorant is the next attacker besides the Raikou. I mean, I guess the Raikou is already active, but they can't attack with the Raikou again because now you're at 2 prizes remaining. Are they trying to bait them into attacking with the Sableye? Or maybe you just did that because you just Iono'd them. And now that's going to make it so it's very hard for them to rebuild up a hand. That would make sense as well. Especially if you have track of your opponent's energy, maybe they can't attack with the Sableye this turn. Yeah, if they were able to attack with the Sableye here, they could go knock out the Mew and put at least 1 damage counter on the Cresselia. And then win the next turn off of Raikou. So you're really hoping your opponent does not have a Boss's Orders this next turn at the very least to bring up that Raikou and knock it out with the Zacian. Because the Zacian already has 3 energy on it and it's undamaged, so you can stack all of the energy that is in the discard pile onto that Zacian and take a 1-shot on anything. So there's like 5 cards, 5 Psychic Energies in the discard pile, it looks like. 5, 6, 7, 8 times 3 is 240, so that's 300 damage you're doing. So yeah, way more than enough. Looks like they are going to go ahead and search through the deck with that Nest Ball to get another Comfey to Flower Select. And yeah, it looks like this is going to go to a Game 3. Because I really think that this Gardevoir is definitely going to be able to win this game. Yeah, player on the left is shaking their head. They are not getting whatever it is that they are looking for. I'm not sure what it is they're looking for exactly. Because they can always just retreat into the Sableye to attack this turn. They're going to go for a Flower Selecting. Are they maybe going for like a Boss's Order this turn? Or I don't think that seems correct. So it looks like they're going to go for the Chorus's Experiment. Again, what are you digging for this turn? And they're going to Lost on the Dragonite. So that was a big attacker that you could have used to win the game against the Zacian. Although maybe he doesn't have any Mirage Gates left. That's entirely possible because he did have the Lost Zone one. And just pass, and we just see the Boss's Orders bringing that up, and we're going to Zacian all of the energy. and take the knockout. So that is the game. We are going to go on to a game 3, right? That's exactly what's happening. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. So I'm not sure what that message says. I can't read Japanese. So it looks like the player on the left must have done a mulligan because there is one damage counter that is on the top of the deck for the player on the right. So that is going to help them out a lot. And we are going to see an attachment of a water energy and pass to the Cramorant. Oh no, you were gifted the game loss from your opponent in game 1. And your deck is just going to peter out on you in game 3. It's really going to give out. He did a valiant effort in game 2, but the player on the right did just outplay him, unfortunately. So there was not much he could do. The fact that he had to put the thing is, he started the Raikou in the last game, and that's what lost him the game. If he never put the Raikou in play, I definitely think the Lost Box deck could have won that game. They could have just done just brought the Dragonite out of nowhere towards the end of the game and won it that way, potentially. So we are going to go for, it looks like, a Roar of the Sword here after using a Battle VIP pass. So we have 4 Ralts in play, as well as the Zacian. So this is, again, a very good start for this Gardevoir deck. So we're going to use Colress's Experiment here. And this is why some players like to go second, because if he were to have gone second during this game, he would have started with the Colress's Experiment and got into double Battle VIP pass with it. So that is definitely an argument to be going second with Lost Box every time, but it's much better choice to just go first, because if you just draw into the Battle VIP houses, you just use them. You have one more turn of Flower Selectings. You're more than likely going to start Comfey than any other Pokemon in your deck, because you play more copies of it than any other Pokemon. So you're more than likely going to get a Flower Selecting at the very least. And here is the Artisan as well. We're going to search our deck for probably another Comfey or maybe a Radiant Greninja, if we do not already have that in hand, if we want to go that route. I'm not seeing the Radiant Greninja in deck. Could always be prized, potentially. We are going to go for the Comfey. Definitely the correct choice here. We have the Water Energy on our active to be able to retreat it. So the thing is, we need 2 more cards in the Lost Zone this turn. So we need to utilize both Flower Selectings and be able to move the Cramorant back into the active. And then we will still be in this game. So the turn 1 was pretty bad. However, oh yeah, you definitely do not want to put the Zacian. No. That is wrong. That is a very incorrect play. You do not want to put the Zacian up there because it's just going to get damaged. Especially since it only has 1 Psychic Energy on it. You didn't attach for turn and then... Ooh, but are we not going to see the Cramorant attack this turn? Oh, we're not. Oh, never punished. Gardevoir never punished here. Yeah, it would have been more correct to promote the Ralts, because if you got hit by the Cramorant, you're getting 2-shot, and you do not have the ability to get enough energies in play this turn in order to attack with it. If you have the Rare Candy Gardevoir EX in hand right now, though, then it definitely was the correct play to promote it and just hope that your opponent didn't have the way to switch into the Cramorant. But you were literally facing down 4 cards in the Lost Zone, and you put that Zacian up. That was very ballsy. Even gets the Manaphy onto the bench as well. Oh, we're living life here. We're going to search our deck for another Kirlia. We have triple Kirlia already in play. We use the level ball and fail it. Oh my lord. Oh, Jesus Christ. Just using all the refinements here. I think we had 2 level balls in hand too, I wanted to say. Discarding all of these cards. Artisan, Rare Candy into Gardevoir EX, attach for turn. Gonna accelerate 1 energy from the discard pile into play, and we are able to take our first knockout before the opponent has been able to as well. Oh, this is looking awful for Lost Box. you're going to be able to take a two prize. Each player is going to be going even on prize cards because the player on the right will be able to take a second prize card before the opponent on the left is going to be able to take their knockout on the Zacian to tie it up at 2 prize cards. Yes, this is absolutely insane. That is a spectacular start for Gardevoir. They got so lucky. Alright, so we are going to go for our next Comfey onto the bench here. Opponent not even bothering to cut the deck. They're like, you know what? You've sealed your own fate. That's what my friend Chris told me one time. He's like, nah, you're going to seal your own fate. And he didn't cut my deck. And then I drew exactly what I needed, but... I think they're just telling this guy on the left to straighten out his lost zone a little bit. The discard pile is a little bit misshapen as well. I think it's fine if you want to have your cards fanned out so you can see each one, but at least do it in like a neat and orderly way. I like to do that sometimes. Oh, also my new playmats came in. I gotta show you guys what those look like. I'm not going to be doing my IRL tournament matches that I record on the Brock and Misty mat anymore. That was a personal one I've had for a couple years. I finally got myself a Ninjanik double mat. I've had a regular sized mat for a few years, but I updated the design on it and I made a double mat version. So it has the Pokemon zones and everything. It looks, it came out really good, like better than I thought it would. Made the design myself, of course. So here comes Iono after we draw some cards here. We have not used our Shining Arcana. We've just evolved into it. That's why you see the Kirlia underneath it is tapped. I do like it when players do that. I personally like the ability to use markers myself. They feel a little bit better. If I were to evolve into the Shining Arcana Gardevoir, I would just take the ability marker off. But tapping is just fine. It's just a little bit confusing in Pokemon if you are to tap an active Pokemon, because that could mean that you are asleep or paralyzed. So just the way that Wizards designed the game when they created it. It's no longer made by Wizards, but the bones of the game are still Wizards of the Coast bones. So even if the skin is TPCI now, because it's owned by Nintendo, but whatever. So 4 cards, 4 Psychic Energy in the discard pile here for the player on the right. 1 Cramorant down. They still have a Cramorant on the left. Is not able to attack yet. This is really bad for this player on the left here. Because this Zacian is just coming in and stealing the game. Yeah, because that escape rope was played, it put up the Gardevoir, and the Gardevoir just got hit. And now at some point when a prize is eventually taken, that Cresselia is just going to come in and is just going to be systematically healing off that Gardevoir EX. I'm guaranteeing it, that's exactly what's happening right now. So yeah, put up that Gardevoir EX to soak up the damage so that not a single prize card would be taken. Make it so all of your draw Pokemon are still in play. So very perfectly executed by this player on the right. I wish I could play like him. Maybe I'd have my invite this year. I went to a vast majority of the regionals, and I got 2 30-point finishes. Yeah, this year was a bad year. This is probably my worst year of Pokemon ever. I'm not gonna lie. But I also feel like the game is as least skill intensive right now as possible. But this player on the right is showing me exactly what skill does. So does not want to promote that Gardevoir again. Is going to finally just let the Manaphy go down. I mean, there's still no Radiant Greninja in play, so you don't really have to worry about it too much. And you could always just get the Super Rod to put it back in, and the Artisan is in play. So you could Super Rod and then immediately Artisan it back out. So it feels fine to promote the Manaphy here. Although, if you find out your opponent is playing Cancel and Cologne at this particular moment, you are kind of gonna be upset about that. They are at 10 cards in the loss zone here. So if we were to see Radiant Greninja come down, Mirage Gate attached for turn of a water energy, and then both Kirlias go down with a... Oh, I just saw the database there for their cards for a second. That was funny. Alright, so we are retreating into the Sableye, and we are going to Lost Mine. We're probably just going to knock out one of the Kirlia again and put 4 damage counters on something else. I would say probably the Zacian is the most correct choice. Either that or the Shining Arcana Gardevoir. Looks like we are going to go for the Shining Arcana Gardevoir. So that will put it in range of another Sableye or even a Cramorant to knock it out. Looks like we are going to go for the Artisan to bring the Cresselia into play. So the thing about the Manaphy being in the active is you do have to hard attach an energy from hand for turn in order to retreat that Pokemon, because you cannot use Psychic Embrace on a Pokemon that is not Psychic type. So it looks like we did draw into an energy if we did not already have one. Yeah, it looks like we did not already have one, but we just drew into it, so that's perfectly fine. This player, again, very skilled because they are playing all Full Art, Secret Rares, Reverse Hollows, etc. As always, bling makes you skilled. Should make that into a t-shirt at some point. Looks like they have 3 minutes left, so they do have to finish this game because I'm not sure if it's going to go by prizes if it's best of 3. I'm not sure how Japan's rules work in best of 3. Normally, if you were to tie, it's a double game loss in best of 1. But yeah, we'll have to see exactly what happens. It's probably going to go by prizes because I want to say they're in like a top cut scenario, single elimination now. Again, it's really hard to tell. I can't tell what this means in Japanese. It says something in Japanese, 1 in a circle, round 1, and then something else in Japanese. So I can't read that. So I think that means round 1 of, I don't know if it's day 2 Swiss, like if they like do a Swiss cut like we do, and then go to an actual top cut. I think they normally do like a top 32 playoff or something. Looks like we are thinking about going for an Iono. We do have to shuffle our deck here. They do have the timer right in front of their faces as well, so they know exactly how fast they need to play. 2 minutes left on the clock exactly. We are going to do the Iono. Shuffle our hands onto the bottom of the deck. And draw a card for each prize card we both have remaining. So the left player draws 5, the right player draws 4. Still has 1 Shining Arcana available, so you can still draw a couple more. Shuffles 2 Ionos back into the deck with Pal Pad. Player on the left making a little bit of a face. He's not liking that. He does not like hand disruption because he is a deck that likes to build a large hand. We're going to attach for a turn to the... Or no, we Shining Arcana and Energy onto that Gardevoir. We attach for a turn to the Manaphy. We are able to retreat, and now we are going to Psychic Embrace to the Kirlia and to the... the Cresselia and the Gardevoir. There's so many Pokemon with like very similar sounding names. Kirlia, Cresselia, they both start with the K sound, like the CK sound. And just going to heal off all of the damage that's in play and take a knockout. Taking the knockout on the Sableye. So still got some damage on both the Shining Arcana Gardevoir as well as the one Gardevoir EX. But they are going to swiftly be healed off because the only way that this Cresselia can die is by a Sableye one-shotting it. And again, there might still be another Super Rod in the cards, pun intended, because this is a trading card game, for the Gardevoir player. And we are going to Jet Energy to Flower Select. We're going to keep a Mirage Gate, which we then can play. We even have our own Super Rod to put back a Sableye as well as a couple energy cards. God, I miss Super Rod. We're going to use Artisan to get the Sableye right back out into play. We're going to use the Mirage Gate as well. Are they going to give him a warning for saving time? Oh no, they're calling time. Oh, I thought they were going to give him a warning for a second because he super rotted the cards back in, never shuffled, and then used the Artisan and then the Mirage Gate. But this is exactly how you should play. You should always like cut those corners as long as you're being clear to your opponent exactly what's happening. You just say, I'm going to super rod these back in, and then I'm going to use the Artisan to get this back out. And then I'm going to use the Mirage Gate to get these two energies back out. And then you still shuffle your deck because technically those got shuffled into the deck. So you still have to shuffle your deck after, even though technically the cards in the deck are still the same as they were before the Super Rod and the Mirage Gate and the Artisan. Kind of like when you use Trinity Nova and you don't search for an energy, you still have to do that. Looks like we are just going to promote our own Zacian and just take the knockout. Perfectly acceptable there. And it looks like this player on the right is going to win. He goes, yes! And yeah, even though he lost game one for whatever reason, I don't know if maybe there was something that happened earlier in the game and they only penalized him now for it. That does happen at tournaments sometimes. Or if maybe he got some sort of penalty for that first game, if maybe he was fidgeting with his cards a little bit weird, or if he just... or if he was just playing too slow, looking through his deck, identifying prize cards. I'm not sure what it was, but he ended up winning the match anyway. So really great for him. He played it fantastically, so he really did deserve that win. So props to him. As always, guys, do not forget to comment, like, and subscribe. All that good stuff up above. Check the description box down below for links to all the stuff. We will see you guys next time for the next, I guess it's best of threes now, of the Japan Championships.